please don't mow the garden. I don't know where you put your teeth. Anyone got something we should be smoking? That's all we do around here these days. Is but a man was meant for sitting. These eyes are mine for fireflies. It's a beautiful night, as good as I'm getting. Riding the wings as time flies. Oh, Dad, please don't mow the garden. I don't know where you put your teeth. Anyone got something we should be smoking? That's all we do around here these days. Teeth in the dishwasher. Found your loose lips on the floor. That lady you were seeing, she's sorta cute. Nice ass walking out the door. Oh, Dad, please don't mow the garden. I don't know where you put your teeth. Anyone got something we should be smoking? That's all we do around here these days. Dad and Dan say they're down there fishing. The worms are sitting here on the counter. I reckon they're really just down there wishing. It's all we do around here these days. Oh, Dan, don't mow the garden. I don't know where you put your teeth. Anyone got something we should be smoking? That's all we do around here these days. Just smoked a turkey and just smoked his mandolin. I'm smoking whatever you're smoking. I'm just glad it's not Bombay gin. Oh, Dad, please don't mow the garden. I don't know where you put your teeth. Anyone got something we should be smoking? That's all we do around here these days. Yeah, that's all we do around here these days.
I guess we could ask him if he ever found those teeth. I bet he did. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Special episode today. Gonna get Dad on the line here, check in on, see how his quarantine is going, and he'll be available to say hi to every single one of you. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I see you in here. Hey, Greg, Adam. Oh, look, it's Angie. The Bullocks are with us. Howard. Hey, MC. Good to see everybody. I'm gonna sing one of I mean, favorite songs maybe is going too far, but I know he likes this one because he knows as well as I do where this song came from. This is one inspired by the house out in Swope where Joe and Hunter are living. This one comes directly from the backyard, as many of my songs do, many of my better songs. There's that's one place I don't tend to write my sad ones. It's just too beautiful there. Won't you come on, chickadee, sing me that song. Oh, river, 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 roll on. I'm sleeping in the sun on a summertime bank. Stone skipped 49 times and sank. I'm learning how to whistle. I'm saying my thanks to the rolling hills of home. Starry, starry, starry night, bullfrog croaking to its own delight. I wish I may, I think I might, sleeping in the moon on a summertime bank. I had a masterpiece dream, now I'm drawing a blank. Well, maybe that's it. I cupped the water and drank to the rolling hills of home. Well, time flies and fireflies when you're having fun. My line is in the water and I'm sleeping in the sun on a summertime bank. I'm in heaven, I think, and I try to whistle as the sun sinks to the rolling hills of my home. Oh, it's good to see so many familiar, beautiful faces in the chat. Gonna get Dad on the line, and we'll be right back with my father, checking in on him, see how his quarantine is going. Thanks for tuning in. Here's another song that comes from that same place.
It's worth a shot.
Thank you. Where we stayed last night had the first songbook I ever made. I'd forgotten all about it. It was just plain brown and small. And so I went through it seeing if there were songs I'd forgotten all about. And I found a few for sure. Songs. One thing I think is really strange is I travel around and play songs. Like people that have loved me for a long time, their favorite songs are always these ones I never play. Some are not on any record. None of the hits. They can take or leave them. That's the ones everyone loves. The people that love me the most have the funniest little list of songs that they like. I love that. It's just like, oh, really? And the songs love that even more than I do. They're like, see, told you, motherfucker.
A big list. Big old list.
But no one's ever told me this is their favorite song, so don't worry. Sitting in the shades of green, chickadee trills and the air is wet. I pet my dog and he knows what I mean. This is as good as I get. The radio announces explosions one by one. The bees are buzzing in their hive. Dad is laughing up in his room and I'm alive. And I believe in the actions of this Phoebe, who's built this clever nest upon my porch. A peaceful rain drops, and it's hard to believe in war. Joe's calling up his girlfriend.
Nana's baking a pie. I've been reading Thoreau, living up in a tree, not really wondering why. Oh, the sweet beauty of a flower's poverty, the magic starry nights. I've named the gray squirrel Pedro and just been letting the bed bugs bite. And I believe in the actions of this Phoebe, who's built this clever nest upon my porch. A peaceful rain drops, and it's hard to believe in war. You know, you think about a bird, gets hatched from that egg up in the nest and gets pushed out eventually, and it flies. Well, you can only really, I mean, how do you teach that one? I hope you understand what I just said. Oh! You see what happened to your brother? But then they grow up and their time comes, and all of a sudden they fly into a tree, they start gathering sticks and building the most amazing, intricate thing you've ever seen, this beautiful nest. It starts with a certain pattern. Somehow they know. I don't think they went to school for that one. Nest building 101. They just know, and they build that nest when the time comes, and it's complicated, it's intricate, it's beautiful, it's practical, it works. It's a nest. We must have some of those things too. And when our time comes, we build this incredibly complicated, beautiful, intricate, perfect thing that does exactly what it's supposed to do. I have no idea what that is, but I bet we got some of that. Yeah, I've been throwing logs onto the fire, preaching to the cricket choir. Been smoking an old corncob pipe, and soon these apples will be ripe. And we'll be picking apples and mandolins, picking our noses, picking our friends, picking ticks off the dogs now and again, just picking, a lot of grinning. And I really do believe in the actions of this Phoebe right here that has built this clever nest upon my porch. A peaceful rain drops, and it's hard to believe in war.
Hey, who could that be? Let's see who we have here. Getting fancy. It's Dad.
Hey there.
Hey, Dad. How's it going? Oh, wait. I have to hang up the phone. There might be one ring left. Nope, well, that's good. Welcome to the show.
Well, it's nice to be here. Nice to be out and about. I haven't been getting out a whole lot lately.
None of us have. Where are you going to go if you go out? That's the question.
I used to have 4 places. I don't have those anymore.
What were the why?
The Y's closed.
Yep.
Yeah. Food Line. I still go there.
What's it like at Food Lion? They don't have self-checkout, so I get a little nervous.
Yeah. I haven't been for several days, and I did do a little bit of testing on the different ones in Stanton. I have gone, since this all started, I've gone twice to the West Beverly and once to the North Coulter. And there's definitely a cultural difference going on that is fascinating to study.
Which one do you think is safer? If you had to.
I I wouldn't entertain a thought on that. I thought everybody was doing what they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, professionally, I think they were about the same.
What are they doing? Are the cashiers doing some kind of hand thing between every customer or anything like that?
They weren't when I was there. They were just, cleaning every so often. I don't know what their rules were, but they weren't very stringent. But that was 3 or 4 days ago. It's gotten a lot stricter, I bet.
Right.
So I really don't know what's going on down there now. But yeah. Where else? I used to go to the ABC store.
Oh, right. Well, but
Yeah.
you stopped going there before quarantine.
Right. Right. And what was the fourth thing? Well,
Fishing? Danny Morris is
either-
guessing fishing.
either fishing or going over to check on mom or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever my duty chores are, I usually have some chore to do during the day. But not like people that have real jobs to do and things like that. Nothing like that.
There's Nana's someone whose life doesn't change much now that we're under quarantine.
No, she's still getting the same wonderful care from our people, so she's doing real well. I'm very happy with where she is right now.
That's good.
We're very blessed and lucky to be able to do that. So it's all good.
So Danny Morris guessed fishing was one of your stops.
Yeah, I went fishing today. Tell Danny there's one less 5-inch sunfish in Lake Thames.
Oh, that's going to be bad news.
Actually, there's the same number I threw him back. So
Were there many people fishing over there today?
they stocked it 2 weeks ago. So
Oh, they
most of
did.
the fish have been, yeah, it's been fished hard for a good week and a half. So there weren't many people there. I saw one fish caught, one trout.
People fish Lake Thames hard. Now, this Lake Thames is just in the local park here in the center of town, Gypsy Hill Park. They have I guess it's a man-made lake. Was it ever a real lake, or was it always a man-made lake?
I think it was originally just man-made.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But they stock it. How often do they stock it?
They stock it a couple times a year during the winter. But they'll stock it again in May because they have a kids tournament over there, and they stock it for that. But you just got to understand what they're doing is putting 300 trout into there, and by 24 hours later, there's probably about 25 swimming around. They get caught out in no time. So it's put and take. And like I was talking to a friend today about, would you eat them out of there? Well, they were just put in yesterday.
Right.
They haven't had time to get any pollutants in their body. So yeah, I'm going to eat them. I wouldn't eat a carp or out of there, but I wouldn't eat a carp anyway.
That
So
fish
there
you
go.
caught today, what? That was a sunfish, you said?
I did, yeah. Bluegill, sunfish,
Now, those
brim.
can be decent eating, right, if they get big enough?
Oh yeah, they're very good eating. A lot of bones, but that's half the fun, is picking through the bones. So,
That's half the
Good
fun. You
stuff.
hear that, deer? That's half the fun. So I gotta say, this lighting on you is pretty mysterious.
yeah. Well, it's a light.
Yeah, but you're
It's just a light.
there.
It's
He
not
is. There he is.
It's not a halo. I don't know.
It's like the start of Alfred Hitchcock or something.
Yeah,
No,
well,
that's better right there. We can see you
is
now.
that better?
It actually looked cool. It was just it would be good for like your poetry reading or something. But I bet some people would like to. That's definitely better. We got Erica's in the chat. We got Danny Morris, Angie Bullock. Hey, Mr. Hat, Greg Kyden's in here. Christiana's in here. Dana's in here.
Oh, really?
Adam
Hey.
Smith.
Adam. Well, that's a good crew right there.
Adam, you've had some funny Facebook posts lately. Keep up the good work. That levity is very welcome at the moment.
Yep. Enjoying it all.
So you didn't really stock up that. You didn't prepare for Armageddon like we did, huh?
No. I'm still. I'm not. I don't need a whole lot, so I don't use a whole lot. We got mom stocked up, so we're okay there. So
Right.
I'm good. I'll bet I have enough friends through Facebook and everything. I have enough friends that if I put out on Facebook that if I put out there that I needed toilet paper,
Right.
Danny Morris would be over in 5 minutes, and he would only charge me like $5.
You're right. He'd give you a good
He
deal.
would give me a good deal. He
Yep.
would give me a deal. I swear he would.
Yep, throw in a can of beans. just because he loves you.
Yep. He's that kind of guy. He keeps saying he's going to take me fishing, and then I see these pictures of where he's been fishing, and I guess I'm starting to get a little pissed off. I hate to air it right here on the internet.
No, that's part of what this is for here, for sure.
Yeah.
Airing your grievances. Webcasting your grievances.
And I'm sure he's saying right now, well, I didn't invite him to go to Lake Thames today, so we're even.
It's true. It's true.
It is true.
Where was your favorite spot when you were a real avid fisherman? What was your most go-to fishing hole in these parts? I know you had many, but if you had to pick one.
Well, my favorite, that's a lot of different questions, but my favorite stream to fish, which just goes back to my dad and my friends, the Bosiaks, and maybe sometimes Steve Talley or Rick Cook, or we'd get in that car and drive over to the bull pasture west of here and go through Williamsville and up into there, and it was after they'd stocked, and we were meat fishermen, but it was that fellowship. But the river there through that gorge is just magnificent. It's got some beautiful holes, and some of the holes are just so pristine. And I'm having dreams. I'm going to go back there this summer. We ought to take a road trip, and I'll show you those. And you've been to them when you were little. I took you there. Some of the things, driving through.
Oh yeah, for
Williamsville.
sure.
Yeah. So that would be my favorite stream to have in my heaven.
Right, nice. Hey, Hunter. Hunter's in the chat saying hi to her mom, who's also in the chat.
Hey there.
Eric Vecina's in the chat. Hey, Eric. Good to see you. Thank you so much for all you do. I just saw he works in a hospital, and just saw a picture of him in the full protective gear.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what's going on in that whole healthcare thing from top to the bottom. That's one of the fallouts of all this. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with healthcare and with the whole scope of medicine in the country. It's going to be interesting to see how we do this going forward.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how that turns out.
At the same time, there's no matter what kind of healthcare system we have, there's no way to maintain an ever-present readiness for a pandemic. You can't really, can't keep a hospital with a capacity 5 times its normal capacity at all times.
But yeah, and there's nothing. I don't think we can be too upset with the people that weren't ready for this, because it's like a tidal wave.
Right.
You can't be sitting around worrying about a tidal wave. You can't live with everybody having 1,500 respirators on duty but not being used. It's just
Right.
not the way we work. So, yeah, I think we're responding as well as we can. This is a first timer, but that's my point. Is the next time we will have already been through this
Right.
and know what we need.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knew it was going to be toilet paper? I would not have.
I actually still don't understand that one.
And I don't either. It would not be in my top 10.
Now I do own a bidet, so like any reasonable human being. But on the other hand, I feel like even if I didn't, I wouldn't understand why toilet paper would be the thing everybody runs for
Yeah.
first. It's
Well,
they didn't even grab any food to. I mean, I don't even know what they're relieving themselves of, because unless they're eating the toilet paper.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there's. I don't know. I think they were just overcompensating for things they couldn't control with the one thing they could.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. I just
So
made that
it's
up.
like a placebo preparedness.
Yeah. I did this.
You
What do you want?
right.
I got toilet paper and beer. Now shut up. That's a lot of it. I was going to say something.
I love that so many family members are connecting in the chat beneath our conversation, which is so beautiful. Let's see, Hunter saying hey to her mom, and Christiana saying hey to her sis.
Oh, I was going to say that I had.
Lamar Sale is in here. He says, thanks for the chemistry you taught us all.
Well, nice to hear from you, Lamar.
Making sure I keep up with the chats here. What were you going to say?
Well, yeah. No, I was going to, on your last comment, I had the idea that I'd give my first stock tip of the night.
Ah.
And
Get ready to write this down, folks.
find out who can, and you might be the one to do it, is to find out who makes these bidets
Right.
and invest in that stock.
Mm-hmm.
Or buy the company, and because bidets are going to be in unbelievably. In 3 years, 75% of houses that can have a bidet will have them.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think people will buy it for emergency reasons and then love it for luxury reasons. I mean, it's hard to go back. I mean, I just can't even imagine. I understand why Europeans think we're so filthy in this regard.
I agree completely.
I mean, I don't want to
We
be.
haven't even got into the emotional and autoerotic effect. Of the
I mean,
process.
it's a whole thing. It's a new paradigm. It's a new paradigm. And
Yeah, and there are people out there that need relationships.
it's true.
And if you're not, I don't want you to replace a human being with a bidet. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that
There's a lot
the
of
bidet can be a good friend
right.
when you need one.
That's exactly right. And of course, there's all kinds of emotional and other needs a bidet can't do for you. We're not saying that a bidet is going to solve all your problems, but
That's exactly right.
big butt. And I'll just let that butt hang there for a second.
Woo! Damn.
But it is true. I mean, I know this is a family show, and I won't linger here too long or be too crass, but if you get a little poop on your hand, everybody I know, there's nobody I know that won't wash that. They'll wash that. They won't just take a dry towel and wipe the poop off their hand. Everybody I know will wash it. But for some reason, they don't have the same standards for other parts of their body. I don't know. I think we should move on.
Yeah, I have 2 or 3 thoughts, but I think
Yeah.
you're
Let's
right.
next topic. Next topic.
Let's go to another
Baseball.
topic.
Boy, that's when we really knew that this was getting serious, huh? When all the sports stopped.
Oh yeah, I've been amazed by the effect or lack of effect. I don't know what effect it's having on people, but I would have thought canceling March Madness for some people would just completely mess them up, but I don't think it has.
Well, it's been coupled with everybody's own situation.
Well, yeah.
It just all fit into play. Everything just ground to a halt fought right after that. But yeah, that was the first sign we saw of like, whoa, okay, something is about to get really weird here. When NBA and all that stuff started getting canceled, and they were talking about having the tournaments with no audience, and then that one athlete came down with it, and they canceled the game, and that seemed like the beginning. The next thing was the music community, South by Southwest, saying that they were canceling, and then it seemed like 2 days later we were all quarantined. It was
Yep.
wild.
Yeah. That's exactly the way it went down. I do agree, but I just think it. Well, that's the whole thing about this. It's a paradigm shifter for a lot of people, and who knows what will come out of it. It won't be the same for everybody. If you're touched personally by loss of life, that's a whole different grief experience that other people that aren't even, if it's not even in your community, you just don't know what other people are going through. But I think,
Right.
generally speaking, I think everybody's going to change in significant ways after this, and the way we behave and the way we do things. And I think it could end up being a positive
I was going to
thing
say, there's no
in that
reason to
way.
think that a great many of those changes won't be positive. Sort of up to
Yeah,
us
exactly.
collectively, to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think it brings home that thing that that there's a lot of, preaching of we're all in this together,
Mm-hmm.
and that, we're one planet, and we're one type of organism on the planet, and it's silly to be fighting amongst yourselves. All we have to do is just say, well, let's just get together on this. And it's happened before, it can happen again, and it can happen on a planetary level. Um, so that might come out of this too.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Uh, why not? Yeah.
Checking in with the chat. Hey, Steve Conroy. Please tell me that bidets warm up the water a tad before. They do make models that warm up the water. I don't have that version, but I don't. I have never minded at all. I don't know if our water is just not that cold or what, but that is never not an issue for me. Here, I'm gonna dive into the chats here for a second. See who we got. If you have a question for my dad was a chemistry teacher for many years, and he also used to do these things called life days, and so he's very used to fielding all kinds of conversational topics. Well, tell the cast a little bit about life days, what that was, and where did that idea come from in the first place?
Sometimes I didn't feel like teaching what they were paying me to teach, And if I had been doing a good job, I rewarded myself by kind of just letting to have a discussion. Sometimes these discussions would happen spontaneously in the middle of a class. So I said, well, why not? Let's just see what happens here. Um, and so I tried it a couple times, and I really liked it. And it evolved over the years to where, and it was done as a reward. The kids knew if we weren't doing our job, we weren't going to get a life day. So you got a life day um, when they were, appropriate. So what I would do would hand out pieces of paper, and they would write a question on it, and then I'd take them all up and pull them out, and I'd read the question out loud, and then I'd open the floor to discussion, and they just, if they raised their hand, they could say what they wanted, and I'd jump in when I wanted to, and we'd have a discussion on anything. So we covered everything in the world that you can think of.
Lamar's in the
that,
chat. He says life days were great. And Wendy Gray's in the chat. She says life days.
yeah, we had some. I mean, there was stuff you could hear there that you wouldn't hear anywhere else, um, because we were just people being honest together, and you don't get that format a lot.
Lamar says, I wish I didn't have you first period. I was usually pretty high during your class.
Well, everybody was something back then. Some people were still asleep, and some people didn't like me, and some people were hungover. I mean, everybody was in there, so I'm sure we had some good days.
Surly in the morning. He was probably, I mean, of all teachers to have though, for that first period, I don't know, you might have lucked out there. He wouldn't judge you. Hey, Sean Gilmore says, hey. All right,
Hey.
any questions for Mr. Moore? Beluga Dad pumping stocks like Jim Cramer. There's a pretty long delay from when we say something and they hear it and then they respond. It's hard to have a real back and forth. But if there are any questions out there, just put them in there and I'll be sure that he gets it. So Dad was telling me earlier that one of the things I've been doing with this webcast has been trying to get people to subscribe to my Hippie Fiasco Rides Again YouTube channel, because when I get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 viewing hours, which we're trying to be strategic about achieving those, but once I get all that, I can start going live from Ustream, and that'll be a lot of fun. I'll have a whole live stream Ustream YouTube channel, and but one of the things that we've been running into is a lot of the older generation. It can get a little confusing. They're like, "Well, how do I get to this thing?" And it can be hard to find. If any dad's friends are watching this now or in the replay, I'm going to show you probably the easiest way to do it. And that would be to go to my website. It's right here, nathansland.com. nathansland.com. If you click on this Hippie Fiasco Rides Again Quarantined, click the Learn More, then I have a link right here. It says click here. You can see that right there. So if you click there, it's going to take you to the YouTube channel. Now, here's where it might get a little tricky. All you have to do is...
What do you got? What are you talking about?
Oh, whoops.
What is it?
That movie started playing. So then you just hit subscribe. Now, if you have a Gmail account, you're probably already in business. You might have to get a YouTube account. We might lose you in all. I'm not going to walk you through the steps to that. But basically, you just hit subscribe and then just keep saying yes or whatever. If it starts asking you more questions, I guess, then That's the only way I can think to describe that. But this is how you get there, at least. This is it. This is the Hippie Fiasco Rides Again YouTube channel. We are at 610 subscribers. Yes, we started with 17, and we're getting there. That's only, what, 390 to go. That shouldn't be too hard. All right, so that's the end of that little tutorial part of the webcast. Try to make it as easy as possible. I also always include the link to the Hippie Fiasco Rides Again YouTube channel in the description of these live cast videos. So if you're watching this right now, you can click right above or below, one way or the other. There's a link for the YouTube channel. So how did I do, Dad? Do you think Harry will understand that?
I think he'll do fine.
I know how confusing it could be.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm just casting on my wall at the moment. It's like, wait, what did you just say? So Danny Morris says, "Hey Steve, if I was in your chemistry class, we could have been like Walter White and Jesse in Breaking Bad. Ha ha ha." I don't know. You didn't watch Breaking Bad, did you?
Nope.
Yeah, he won't get that reference. Steve, I won't get that reference either. Daniel loved Breaking Bad, which sort of surprises me still because it's a very violent show, but Catherine and I tried to watch it and just couldn't do it. But then I've heard it's like Shakespearean level, some of the most genius TV ever. So I know I'm missing out. And I'm going to have to go back. Maybe this quarantine is an opportunity on some level to finally discover this Breaking Bad phenomenon. But I was sort of surprised that Daniel loved Breaking Bad when it was a little bit too violent for Catherine and I.
That is interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. There you go.
But apparently the writing is really brilliant on that. Okay, so Steve Conroy has a question for you. He asks, does Mr. Moore plan on authoring any more books?
I think there will be a book at some point. Yes. Yeah. I'm thinking about it every day. I'm writing every day. And I think it's just a question of putting it all together. And I got some time, so I'm working on it. Yep. Answer is yes.
Kethra Moore.
But thanks for the question.
Yeah, Kethra Moore asks, on your life days, were there ever any questions from students that stumped you?
Yes. The short answer is yes. The truth is, I never tried to be the answer. That was not really my role. A lot of times I would back off from saying what I thought because I wanted to hear what they had to say. But I definitely would tell them my opinion, but I never tried to make it a lot more valuable than their own. It's not. I wasn't trying to tell them what was right and wrong most of the time, which is the saving grace, I might add, of something like this.
Right, right. Henry Bowman's in the chat. She says, nice to see you both.
Hi, Henry. Springtime.
Apparently, Christy's on here on Adam's iPad.
That sounds uncomfortable, Christy.
So she's showing up as Adam, I think is the point.
No. I mean, and Adam's a good-looking boy, but I'd rather see Christy than Adam anyway, so there you go.
Makes sense.
But I'd like to see Adam, too.
Lamar says life days wouldn't play in today's schools. It's unfortunate. Do you think he's right about that?
Yes. I saw toward the end with the SOLs change things, and teachers were teaching to the test, and you had a limited amount of time, and you didn't have the time to do that. I couldn't personally, be a teacher and agreed and still have life days just because of the time thing. Does that make sense?
Right.
It was just I just wouldn't do that because this was a forum where I feel like as a teacher I know when I've taught what I needed to teach for that week and that they did a good job and we know what we're doing and we can go on to the next unit. So we're going to take a break today and have a life day. And they wouldn't necessarily be the whole period. They could be 20 minutes. Stop halfway through and say, "Whew, I'm tired of talking. Let's have a life day." You talk for a while, something like that. There you go.
When did SOLs come along?
I don't do years, but
Right.
it was around, it had to be around 2000. I had to do them for several years.
I- I-
1990s. It's a long time.
Oops.
But that was and the other thing was block scheduling. That changed the game for me too. The big deal there was that they decided if they extended the class period 20 or 30 minutes every day, then you could teach the same course in a semester that you used to teach in a year. Well, that math doesn't work up at all for anybody. That's just bullshit. It's just not true.
Right.
It's a falsehood, and no one even said anything about it. Oh, okay, we can do that. And the reason is that it made it easier on the teachers because they didn't have to teach but 3 classes instead of 5 or 4. So I don't know. It was just I didn't like that deal. It wasn't good. So in other words, I only got to know a kid for a semester.
Right.
And that's a big difference because, someone moves into the house next door and you know they're going to stay 2 months. You don't even bother to get to know them.
Right.
But if they're going to stay for 2 or 5 years, then you go over and say hi. So I wasn't even getting to say hi to people anymore.
That's so important.
Yeah.
So
I mean, in my classes, when in the old days, when I'd have them all year, by May, we were all friends. We would just come in, hang out together, and do stuff, and it wasn't even like work. It was just, you still had issues, but
Right, right.
But they were family issues at that point.
That makes a lot of sense. Steve says, can Mr. Moore regale us with any tales of Nathan's skateboarding days?
No, not really, except that it was a place that that I think he said he was more than he was. In other words, skateboarding was a generalization that you could say, where have you been? Outside? And, I went to the skateboard park.
Yeah, just been skateboarding.
Yeah. I just think he got away with too much with that line. But, yeah.
I took skateboarding.
Around.
I took skateboarding pretty seriously there for a little while, for a good couple of years.
Oh, I know.
I got scars to prove it.
Yeah.
But it is true that the part of skateboarding was just about hanging out with everybody behind the Kroger or whatever. It was as much the hang as it was anything else, for sure.
Well, yeah, and purely and I hope I'm not offending you, but to me, I think when I think of a skateboarder, I think of someone that's shorter and skinnier and lither.
What word is that?
It's lithe, Lithe. But it's
Lither.
lither. I just made it up. I don't know if it's a word.
What is
But
live?
you're not live.
Hold on.
You're
I
more.
don't know if I agree yet. Hey Siri. Hey Siri. What does lithe mean? Oh, she thinks I said live. Never mind. She's not going to
Of
help.
course. Well, you have to spell it for them.
I mean, how do you say lithe?
It's hard, especially when you don't have any teeth.
Lithe. Thin, supple, and graceful. I don't know. I think I don't know. I think I was lithe. I'm just gonna put my foot down and say I think I was all those things in my big awkward way. In my big clumsy awkward way.
Well, I think we've come to an agreement. I would agree with what you just said completely.
It is true. I was not one of the best of my friends at skateboarding. I got it, but that was where I early on learned to focus. Like I couldn't do the ramps very good. There were all these things I couldn't do, but I found one trick that I could do that no one else could do. And,
Oh, really?
yeah, and I just focused. I was pretty good at the ollie. It's called an ollie, and so I just focused on that. And
Describe what that is.
well, you sort of move your front foot back on the board, and you bend at the knees, and you sort of leap into the air, snapping the tail of the skateboard with you as you do it, and the skateboard follows you up, and without using your hands or anything, you could like jump up onto curbs or over things just by leaping and snapping the tailboard of the skateboard to have it follow your feet up into the air.
And you would land on it?
And then you land on it. I could jump over a person.
Wow.
I could
never
probably
that.
jump over two people, but I'd never got a second person to volunteer. Too smart. But
Well,
yep.
darn. That's pretty impressive. I like that.
Steve says, "Oh, to be lithe again." Reading through the chats here. LOL at I don't do years. Steve, if you were making a quarantine CD, what songs would be on it? Nathan or otherwise?
Well, I mean, that could go on for a long time.
That's true.
If I had a list, I've made lists before. I could list some things. I don't know a list in it. I
Barry,
like
Barry
songs.
Maguire comes to mind. Eva Destruction.
Well, yeah, for now. But,
Right.
no, it's not going to be on my playlist.
Right.
Yeah, what a song that was. That was just
It
a
was.
horrible song.
It was a horrible song. Was he a one-hit wonder with that?
Yep, I
Yep.
believe he was. But it was a hit.
Yeah, I guess if you were really making a quarantine CD, it wouldn't be things that remind you of that you're in quarantine.
No. The first song that popped into my head when you asked me that question was Somewhere Down the Crazy River,
Oh yeah.
Robbie Robertson song. I could listen to that song every night for the rest of my life.
Yep.
I get something every time I go there. So that's the kind of song,
Did you hear Bob Dylan's new song that just dropped today? 17 minutes long about the Kennedy assassination.
I haven't heard it. Didn't even know it existed.
It's haunting. It's really an interesting piece of music.
Yeah, how do you hear it?
Rolling Stone put it on their website. I guess you'd have to. I bet if you Googled Dylan new song, it would come right up.
I'll check her out.
Henry says, Steve, I have a memory for you. A camping fly fishing trip to the cabin in the Bull Pasture Gorge. I brought only eggs and taters and trusted you on the trout. We got very hungry. I didn't even complain when you switched to a pole and corn. After dinner was hooked, you switched back to the fly rod and caught us one big one for breakfast.
Well, that's a great memory. I don't remember. I remember trying to catch that fish, and I didn't remember that sequence there. That's funny. Yeah, that was a good trip. That is in that gorge we were talking about earlier. That Bull Pasture Gorge, one of those cabins in there. That's a beautiful stretch there.
You know, I think you always ask me when a birthday or Christmas is coming around what I want. I think the next time we have one of those where you're wondering what to get me, I think a fishing setup would be pretty cool. I don't have anything.
Well, if you come over, I've got one rigged up for you right now. I've got 3, and I want to cut it down to 2.
Nice.
I can show you everything you need.
Is it just a regular standard reel rod?
Yep. It's one my dad's Mitchell 308s. That's what he got me started on. That's what I've always used. It's the only one you've ever used.
Now, if being a beginning fisherman, if I step up to a body of water, I'm sure it varies depending on what body of water I step up to, whether it's a pond or a stream. How do I know what bait to use? Whether it's corn or worm or a spinner
Well, you just experience is the only way you learn, and but it changes, and sometimes one thing works, and sometimes they're biting one thing in the morning. I mean, they're very fickle about it, unless you find something that always works, and nobody's found that yet. But
right.
That's what makes it a good game, is trying to figure that out.
If you were preparing for hard times and you had to choose one bait, one lure, you had one thing at the end of your fishing pole for all purposes, what would it be?
It would be a worm.
Be a worm.
My dad would say a minnow. He loved minnows. Minnows to me die too quick on the line. I never liked fooling with it, killing a fish every time you try to catch a fish. So worms are easier to not feel as bad about. But the thing about a worm that makes it the good bait is that all the different fish eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Carp will eat it, trout will eat it, and the bass will eat it. Everybody eats a worm. Whereas corn,
why is that? It doesn't seem like worms would be a thing fish would naturally would naturally be available to them to eat.
Well, that's just not true, because every time it rains, worms will crawl out of their hole and get flooded out or whatever, and end up in a creek and climb down and end up in the
But
river.
that seems like a special. Seems like a special case.
So that's like a delicacy for them. And
Huh.
It's an easy meal. It's a lot of protein. So they see a worm and they all know it's an easy meal, so they just go over and slurp it up. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm reading the chat. Seeing.
Okay. I need to remember. I'm not.
Yeah, I just gotta try to make sure I keep up with everyone's comments. There's a lot of good people in here. Hey, Josh. Josh says also we can eat the worms if the fish ain't biting. Protein is protein. Danny Moore says you need confidence on the end of that hook. What does he mean by that?
Well, you need to know that what you've done is the right thing, and you're going to catch a fish. It's he's just saying it's psychological. Your approach to fishing. If you approach it like you're going to lose, like you're not going to catch anything, you're not going to catch anything. He's throwing some
The
fishing
zone.
psychology at you.
Does that ring true to you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting how that goes. That it seems like no matter what it is you decide to delve into and give yourself to, if you go deep enough into it, you tend to discover these mystical realms within it, like the idea that your attitude or your consciousness could affect the way the fish bite. There's this, whether it's athletics or art or relationships or whatever, there's this the zone where you become one with things, or I don't know how to put it, but it seems like it's a universal concept of some kind of mystical aspect to what it is the things we do. Am I talking sense with that?
Well, I'm getting hung up on that word mystical.
Yeah, it's not a good word.
Because that puts it in. You take that one word and you change everything you're saying into a negative about what you're saying.
But how could your attitude, having a relationship with the fish biting, not have mystical implications?
Oh my goodness. Well, all right, I'll explain it to you.
Yeah, please.
I have a fishing pole and I have that line in my hand, and if I know that I am the best caster, and I know where that fish is, and I know where he was, and I throw that bait with confidence, I'm going to nail that sucker right where I need to, and I'm going to bring it back with just the right rhythm. But if I don't have any confidence, and I don't even think there's a fish in there, I just kind of flip that little son of a bitch out there and reel it back as fast as I can and just say, there's nothing in there.
Right.
See, none of that was mystical, but it explains why that happened.
Okay, I'm with you. Josh put it this way, like chopping through the wood rather than chopping at the wood.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's nothing mystical about that. It's just being in the zone.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'll calm down.
Yeah. Well, just stop throwing words around like that.
I know. I like that word too much, probably.
But I was right, because you did jump in as being a negative thing.
Wait.
In other words, you used it in the way you wanted to, and I called you on it.
Right.
You were giving it a negative connotation.
Which?
Mystical.
I was?
When you used the word mystical, you were saying, because the follow up to what when you finished was, well, isn't it mystical? How can you asked me, how can I explain that? Which I did.
Yes,
and
you
then
did.
But your first reaction was to defend the word mystical as being something that's not explainable.
Right.
That's
Right.
all.
No, I got
It's
you.
not a big deal.
No, it's not a big deal. Let's see. Josh says the mystery is your belief in fruition. Steve says Satori, a sudden inexpressible feeling of inner understanding or enlightenment. Joe Moore says, yes, Steve, Baker Ball. We accidentally skipped a year, but he's talking to another Steve.
I hope so.
Oh, is Eric Fisher in here? I think Eric Fisher's in here. Hey, cuz. No matter how old you get, you still have stamina. Eric Fisher. Hey, Chad. Yo, guys. Chad Galactic's here with us.
Hey, Chad.
Sweet. No more questions at the moment. If you have a question, you can ask Mr. Moore anything. It's Life Day here on Hippie Fiasco Rides Again. We will be right back with more from Mr. Moore.
Somebody call my guru. I could use some advising. Can't keep my eye on the prize, and I'm realizing I got a lot that's stemming. I just don't feel like I'm winning. The only time I'm grinning's when I'm sinning. Let the music back in again. Get a guide for this world when I'm in. I wanna travel through space again. I wanna love this place again. I wanna hear your voice through tin again. Get back to that womb I was swimming in. I wanna chase the moon again. Arrive too soon again. Call my doctor. I could use some prescribing. My head can't find the bed till the sun is rising. Well, this old beginning sure could use a new ending. The only time I'm still is when I'm spinning. Let the music back in again. Get a guide for this world when I'm in. I wanna travel through space again. I wanna love this place again. I wanna hear your voice through tin again. Get back to that womb I was swimming in. I wanna chase the moon again. Arrive too soon again. I wanna work the dirt back in my skin. Hear this song that I'm singing in. I wanna cut the wire again. I wanna smile on fire again. I wanna let the music back in again. Get a guide for this world when I'm in. I wanna travel through space again. I wanna love this place again. Let the music back in again. I wanna let the music back in again. I wanna let the music back in again. petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along, and now I'm back on the flag. Don't look surprised.
All right, we're going back. That was Lex and Corey crushing it on TikTok on day 4 of quarantine. Hey there, Hippie Fiasco Rides again. We're back with my dad, Mr. Moore, the only Mr. Moore I know. I need that. You couldn't see it from where you are, but I put a singing fish right before we came back just to stick with the theme. We got some new blood in the chat. If you got a question for Mr. Moore, it's Life Day here on Hippie Fiasco Rides again. He wasn't remembering, Josh. That's why I was seeking clarification there. I'm guessing that you're referring to one of his Facebook posts. And if you're not friends with my dad on Facebook, you probably should be, because he's always a breath of fresh air in the feed there with his poems and observations. And you seem to have a philosophy about Facebook, Dad, in terms of, I don't know if I've ever seen you post a negative thing or rant or air any grievances or anything. What's that all about? Are you some inhumanly positive person or something?
Yeah, I think I'm Jimmy Fallon of Facebook. I just don't think it's. When I think about Facebook, the truth is, for Facebook, it's all about me. It's just all about me and what I can get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that explains everything, if you just think of it that way. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm a bad person. Is that bad?
I don't think that's bad.
I don't either.
wait, what'd you say again? I was reading at the same time you said that.
I don't remember what I said exactly.
Well, the thing I was reading was Josh was clarifying his where he is glad that you and him agree or share a similar philosophy about birthdays. He says, kind of our interest and preference in our own, happy to celebrate others, but feel funny about that energy directed our way. Is that ringing a bell? Like you like to celebrate other people's birthdays, but really have a serious aversion to people celebrating
I agree
yours.
I'm just trying to picture when I actually said that, and I couldn't remember that.
Right.
But I'm having trouble remembering a lot of things, so that's all right. But I agree with what he's saying.
Right.
I probably said that, and I'll probably say it again next year.
Steve McLean has a question. He says, curious, does Mr. Moore ever search the creeks for arrowheads and artifacts?
I used to look for arrowheads when neighbors and other people nearby would plow their fields in the spring, but I never really found much. I never really got into that end of archaeology and our culture, so no, I didn't do a whole lot of that, but that would have been a fun thing to get into.
Do you ever find any legit arrowheads?
No. And if I had in an earlier stage, I might be an archaeologist.
Right.
Yeah. Just same reason I'm not a fisherman, professional fisherman.
Scott Swaby says, "Can someone remind me of Stephen's latest book on Amazon?" You have a. Can they still get that on Amazon? Is your book still available?
I don't know. I was gonna try to figure that out myself. It's called Life Days. There you go. It's Stephen More and More, but I don't know if it's still up there or not. I haven't checked lately. I should find that out.
Was there a common theme to the questions that would be asked on Life Day? Was there even, you did it with many different kids in many different years. Was there a question that would tend to get asked universally?
There were usually some questions about sex that would come up.
Were they just
And
trying to
I
make?
think,
Were they just trying to make you uncomfortable, or were they trying to find actual answers?
In the rules of the game were that you can't talk about anybody. You can't reference anyone. You can't talk about anybody in any general way or specific way. But you've got to stay away from that, or we're not going to play. And there was just certain rules and guidelines, so they knew what they could ask. They got a feeling for what we're going. And if I saw one that was just too bad, I'd just throw it behind me and go to the next one. I had veto power.
Right.
I'm not going to get myself fired that quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they're kids, so they're probably wanting to test the boundaries of everything, make you squirm a little bit.
I never felt that way. I didn't do Life Days with all the classes, by the way.
Right.
It was the classes that I had a relationship with. And a teacher will have a relationship with individual students, but that's different. Sometimes you'll have a relationship with you always have a relationship with the whole class as one organism. And sometimes those are very pleasant and easy. In other words, you're both on the same page, you get along, everything's fine. And then you can have Life Days.
Right. That makes sense.
But if you're having trouble dealing with your classroom, and I'm a teacher, I had trouble with my classroom sometimes. Every teacher does. So it's not like it was always that great. So some people don't have any idea that we ever did a Life Day. Because there was an element of trust there too.
Mm-hmm.
The kids, the middle-aged people that are my students, they got it. They understood that this was special in some way. Maybe not at the time, but a lot of times later on, that was kind of different.
Did you ever notice like a sort of a collective identity to like the different years or groups of different classes? Like, wow, that's a surprisingly good class. That's a surprisingly bad class. Like or was it always sort of a balance of personalities? And I don't mean the class in terms of the period in the day, but the year.
Did the years change them? Not a whole lot. I wouldn't. It was very gradual, and I think the reason for that was that my job was much easier because I had selectivity, and so while you might have gone through a period where certain classes weren't important or whatever, but if a kid wanted to do good in college, they felt like they had to have chemistry, and for many of them, it was their way to become a doctor like their dad and that kind of stuff. So even during the whole time, there was that consistent flow of motivated students, which is all you really need is motivation.
Right.
That's it. So they were self-motivated. I don't.
Bethany is in the chat. She says, "Hey, Nathan and Mr. Moore. When I'd fish with my pop, we'd go to the rapids at Bull Pasture, rub the rocks in them, and catch hellgrammites in a net." I remember those things. Mr. Moore,
yeah.
did you ever do that or know about those amazing biologically adapted creatures? Did I say that right? Hellgrammites?
Yeah, they're the larva of it might be a stonefly. I think it's a big old ass fly. If you ever been on a summer night, I was up there at the Bull Pasture one night. You turn the lights on and these giants, I think they're called stoneflies, but they're hellgrammites, are the larva of this huge winged, amazing animal. And yeah, we used to catch hellgrammites, but we didn't catch them much. We would buy them from people because that's more for smallmouth and bass fishing streams.
They're scary.
Bull pasture.
They're scary
What's that?
looking. They're scary looking, if I remember
Oh
correctly.
gosh, and there's the pinchers. Are
Yeah, they got
bad.
pinchers. Exactly.
Those pinchers will pinch you good too.
I remember the move. They will?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. They I remember the move was you would create a little funnel with rocks in the bottom of the stream, and you would hold a net that was tied to two big sticks, and then you'd have me run from about 20 yards out at you, dragging my feet and scaring everything into the nets.
Right.
And that is just an amazing thing as a child. You pull that net up and all the stuff that's suddenly in that net, from tadpoles to minnows to hellgrammites to like, oh my goodness, it was always so amazing. I love doing that.
That was great. Yeah, it's amazing diversity there. Yeah, hellgrammites were fascinating, but bass can't resist them. So you can really catch a lot of nice bass with them.
She
And
says,
trout, too, yeah.
Joe and Bethany are now talking hellgrammites in here. Joe says, I always called them creepy, crawly things. We definitely fished with them, and I guess that's why you and I always got along. Hellgrammite Club. Bethany says, and they last on land and in water. It's amazing. Yeah, they're scary little things.
I think I'm thinking Dobson fly now. Somebody figure it out for me. I don't think it's stonefly. I think it's a Dobson fly.
Yep, actually, Bethany just put that in the chat. Dobson fly. You're exactly right.
Thank you, Bethany. I feel better. I would have hated that. So I knew stonefly wasn't right, but I couldn't think of the Dobson.
Bethany asks, I've heard they are an indicator of very clean water. Is that true?
Yes, definitely.
How is the health of our local rivers and streams? You know anything about that?
There's been some improvement. There's been some noticeable improvement, but they're still not healthy.
And that's mostly from cows, right?
It's cows and agricultural runoff in general.
Right, fertilizers and pesticides.
Fertilizers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they would be the main culprits, yeah. But there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work out there to try to get it changed, that we can be more in agreement with what the stream needs for its health.
Live in harmony with it.
Definitely.
Seems to be something we struggle to do.
Yeah, it can be done.
I get caught up seeing everybody in the chat. Bethany says, Mr. Moore, once I passed out in your class and you were teaching a lesson on volatility. You woke me and had me come to the front of the class, asked me to put my hand in boiling water. Of course, I missed the lesson and I didn't know it was cool. What is she talking about there? I refuse to believe that you would wake a sleeping student up and make them put their hand in boiling water. What was... Oh, goodness, I lost him. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button, I guess.
Well,
Do you know what she's talking about there? What was... she has quotes around boiling, around the word boiling. So I guess you created the bubbles. Some
she
of the...
didn't know it wasn't boiling. We had been boiling it when she went to sleep, I guess. I don't know. Probably I replaced the one that was really hot with another one and then woke her up. So that her last memory was it's boiling water. And it wasn't boiling water, but the embarrassment was the same. And I apologize to Stephanie for it. I shouldn't have. I was out of line and I apologize. And I'll never do it again, ever.
What was your favorite lab to do in chemistry class? And I wonder if chemistry is taught the same way as it was then, in terms of like all the beakers and it seems like with litigation and all the things that have changed in the world over the last 20 or 30 years, that there were probably experiments you did in the 70s that they would never be allowed to do anymore. I just wonder if the chemistry labs in high schools these days are the same, with Bunsen burners on every desk.
Yeah, it's much more controlled, much more not much creativity there. They're following strict guidelines of which labs to do and how to do them, and everybody's doing the same stuff, and it's not as carefree. Everything has to be explained, and so it's not nearly as creative a job.
Do you know the chemistry teacher at Stanton High School now?
I assume it's still Heather Davis. I never heard that she left. And she's the lady that replaced me when I left.
Ah.
Some 20 years ago or whatever.
Eric Bang says, Mr. Moore, what did you call the meditation you used to do in chemistry class? You used to do meditation in chemistry class? I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't know exactly what he's referring to.
I'm intrigued. Tell us more, Eric Bang. Tell us more. So didn't you once own the book? Eric says once a week. Emerson just signed in. So I remember. Did you ever read the book "Teaching is a Subversive Art" or something like that? What was? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Teaching as a subversive activity.
Oh yeah. Is that something you? Did you ever read that book?
Yeah, I read that book.
Did you relate to that? Did you feel like teaching was a subversive act?
At times I felt that way. A little bit, maybe, yeah.
Uh-huh. Is that what the conservatives are talking about when they talk about the schools being liberal? Is it that book? And
no, because that book would work for the people that are for it and the people that are against it. You use that book either way.
Right.
That book is basically saying you can preach. Well, those people were liberals, so they were saying you should preach all these things, this list of things.
Right.
But you got other people that are wanting you to do the same thing from the other side, wanting you to have a whole list of their things that they want to get done. So you got to decide yourself what you're going to do. You're not going to be reading a book and deciding. But yeah, it definitely gave me food for thought about how I perceive what I'm doing. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's funny because it seems like, when you were starting out and with coming out of the 60s and the 70s, that to a certain extent, it seems like liberal back then was sort of like anti-establishment, and a conservative would be pro-establishment. That's the way it was painted, anyways. But nowadays, it's sort of changed. There's like two versions of the establishment, and I don't even know. I don't know. It's like it seems like all those dynamics have completely changed. But just to if you're fighting the status quo, you used to be a liberal. This is probably. I'm not supposed to talk politics on the show. I forgot. I thought it was a safe question, but then as I started talking about it, I realized that maybe it's not as safe as I was hoping it would be. Eric says you would. He's clarifying this meditation concept. He says once a week you would do it. You would sit on the tabletop sometime. I mean, you don't remember leading meditation in your classes, sitting on top of the table? I mean, I understand if you can't remember. Somebody told me a story once of me taking the textbook in a class and throwing it in. I was like in an argument with a teacher, and I threw the textbook out the window, and I don't remember doing that.
There you go.
But it left an impression on that person.
In terms of what Eric's referring to, I definitely every once in a while sat like that on my desk. And I definitely sometimes talked to the class from that position. I remember that. But I don't really recall doing meditation with the class or in front of the class.
I guess now he's changing at least the image in my mind a little bit with elaborating. It was like a discussion / meditation, and it was always kind of out there.
Yeah.
I guess that subversive act doesn't necessarily have anything to do with politics, but just the idea of inspiring kids. I mean, why would you be out there? I mean, I think it's not just because you were out there, but I think you were trying to hint that there's more than meets the eye or something. Am I talking out of the side of my face there? I mean, because
no, I don't think it was it wasn't to change the world or change the kid, or it was just more like, I don't know. It's like more than being a teacher. It was like being a friend when we would get there. And that was more, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed knowing them more than just an 83.5 in my grade book. That was a part of why I taught. So those were good times in terms of getting to hear what they were really thinking.
Right.
And getting to know them as people. And that was the part of it that I think that, you don't think about at the time, but later on you think that was really cool.
Right. Bethany says, Mr. Moore, do you remember the story and quote-unquote theory on possums you always share? And I feel like there is a bat story, too. And Dana says, bat story. Bat story.
Oh, the bat story.
Which of those do you think you feel like telling us?
Oh, no, I don't know that I can tell any stories right now.
Yeah, oh, no?
I'm not. No. this would have to be my third White Russian.
But you don't drink anymore.
This, if this diet orange soda were my third White Russian, I'd already probably uh, read it by now. So, there you go. But there we are.
Eric Bang says, I really wish I would have paid more attention. I was lucky to have you as a teacher, and I wasn't smart enough to realize it. I think that's relatable. I mean, there's so much of our teenage years that we probably, all of us as teenagers, had some gold in our lives that we were too young and dumb to appreciate at the time.
Well, yeah, that's what I've talked to Eric about this, and I appreciate his sentiments very much. But I told him he's being way too hard on himself when he says it like that, because we were all. That's what being young is, being young and dumb, because you don't learn anything until you learn it. And when you're at that age, you're just trying to figure out a lot of stuff, and it's a hard time. And he's passing judgment on who he was back then, which is his right to do. He can do it all he wants, but I'm just saying that we were all like that.
Right.
And it's what I see in him right now. It's really the only thing that's very important.
That's beautiful. Jimmy Kivligan's in here. He says, hey, Nathan and Steve, I consider myself very fortunate to have had 30 years of life days off and on with Mr. Moore. I loved the life days in school, then would visit Mr. Moore during college for more life days. Had the pleasure to teach with Steve later and had amazing life days during breaks. And even last year had a life day chat on my neighbor's porch with two Steves. Here's the question. Did Mr. Moore have a teacher from his youth that stood out in such a fantastic and wonderful way? Perhaps did that teacher have life days too?
Well, Jimmy, I think we need to probably get together pretty soon here. I'll let you know when I can be in that neighborhood. I know y'all blocked it off for the time being, but I'll be over to see you, my friend. That's a funny question. But I did. I'll just tell you what I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking that I tried to be all the things that I wanted my teachers to be that weren't.
That they weren't. Eureka. That makes so much sense.
And that was probably one of the things that, I understood what I was doing.
Right, right.
I knew that I was being treated very nicely by a lot of people that liked me before, because they knew me from being when I was a kid, so they already liked me, so it made it easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
You come in from another state and start doing this kind of stuff, you wouldn't last too long.
The Eric is now going, oh, okay, life days. That's the meditation I was talking about. I get it now. And Joe is in here, your son, my brother, giving me grief because I skipped his earlier question. I didn't even acknowledge its existence. And he is now giving me some grief for that. He's saying, Nathan, I noticed you passed over my question. Are you still in trouble? What do you think his question was referring to? His question was referring to the time when I Well, I'll just read his version of it. But he's talking about when Nathan left your records on top of the car and you drove off and they came crashing down. How did you feel on the inside? That's that's Joe's incredibly cruel question, if you ask me. I think I skipped it in good measure. But all right, if he insists, we'll go there. How did you feel on the inside?
Joe was asking me how I felt on the inside.
Oh, was he asking me how I felt on the inside?
I'm not sure.
Maybe he's asking both of us how we felt on the inside.
Well, no, I want to know which one he's asking.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I definitely died on the inside. My dad's records were, I mean, they were each giant gold coins that were invaluable and just accruing worth with every passing minute. That not only were they huge nostalgic pieces that attached him directly to specific memories of his youth, but each one contained unbelievable music that was, I mean, I'll try not to say the word mystical, but wow, the world's these records unlocked. And Dad was off to DJ a party or something. He said, here, put these in the car. And he gave me, I think it was a big like laundry basket, hamper basket full of these 45 records. So I go out to put them in the car, but the car was, the back was locked or something. So I put them on top of the car and then went to get the key and then forgot what I was doing or got distracted by something. So Dad goes off to DJ this party or whatever he was doing. And they're still on top of the car. And he even gets like a mile away from the house. And he goes around a turn or something. Maybe I'm just imagining this part of how he realized it. But he can tell his version of the story after this. But he looks in the rearview mirror and all of a sudden he just sees all these 45s broken. And he comes back to the house visibly upset and talks about what I feel like we both went back together to clean them up off the road, all these shattered, broken, like occasionally like, oh, this one still looks okay, this one will probably still play. There was a few that survived the crash, but I'll now hand over the mic for your version of the story. How did you feel inside?
Well, I was torn. I was torn over the father-son worrying about you, how you felt, because I knew you were taking it hard, and then how bad I felt losing those records. So it was like I was just dealing with both of those issues. And it just took a little while, but
I think you handled it well. You didn't hide that you were crushed, but you didn't make me feel worse than I should. I don't think.
Well,
you were always pretty gentle like that.
I said I've done a million things dumber than that. That's what I was trying to say. It was just a bad accident, but I'm going to be sad, but it's not the end of the world. The beautiful part of that story is about, because I used to have those old records. I didn't just have them from when I was young. Bill Duke and my old buddy would go to yard sales together and get old 45s. And we did that for years just for fun. And we got separated, moved away and all that stuff. And one day I came home from work and there were two big old cardboard boxes and they were both full of beautiful old 45s. And Bill Duke said, I'm tired of carrying them from one place to another. They're yours. So all those old records, it was like they came back. And, a lot of them the same ones, So that's the part of it I remember the most, was that gift that day.
That was one of the first things I thought of too, was how you got those two boxes and so many of the ones that we'd lost were back.
And now a lot of them are over there at your house.
Yep. Still trying to figure out. I feel like I've been daydreaming about this for a few years, but I feel like someday I'm going to have this eureka moment of a new innovative way to store 45s. It's tough to have them accessible, and I don't know. I feel like there's some invention that I'm going to invent. It'll probably be called a jukebox. That's what we really need. Is just a big old jukebox to stick all those things in. Wouldn't that be amazing? Maybe we could donate. Maybe we could find a used one and donate it to the New Marinos, and you could stock it with your choices of your 45s,
Well,
Mr. Moore's
look,
jukebox.
If you figure out the other end, I'll provide the records, and you and I, because those are yours over there.
That would be fun. Any more questions for Mr. Moore? Just type them in the chat, and we will talk about it. It's Life Day here on Hippie Fiasco Rides Again. Do you have any questions for the chat, Dad?
Oh. Well, I'm really happy to hear so many people are out there and say hi, and I hope you're doing well. And the porch is going to be open on pretty days. We're just going to have some new rules about getting in and out, and
What are those rules?
well, you're just going to come in the side door, and then
Just straight onto
stay
the
in
porch?
right onto the porch, right into the chair, and we'll sit and cover all the bases.
So you're not nervous about that?
Not under those conditions.
Right.
We're not going to be within 6 feet of each other. I'm not worried about that now.
Rob Plattner says, I have a question, Steve. Oh, but he's just tuning in. We talked earlier. He says, tell me about the most recent time you went fishing. But we sort of started off the show with that. He went today to Lake Thames in Gypsy Hill Park and caught a 5-inch sunfish. What's your favorite fish to eat?
Trout.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I grew up thinking was the best. But I do like their meat. But I do like a good bass, large red eye, sunfish. They all have good meat.
Bethany wants to know if you have a favorite fishing story memory. Those are always tough when you have to pick a favorite.
I don't have a favorite. The one that just popped in my head.
Yeah, that's the one to go with, exactly.
I was home from college. My father and one of his buddies, Woody, we all went over to the bull pasture and fished this Coursey Springs at the hatchery there. And wasn't much biting. We caught a couple. I went around and crossed the stream and went up the other side and came down behind this big tree. And I knew there was a big one that laid up under that tree. And I let a big night crawler roll up under there. And sure enough, I hooked this big trout. And played him, and Woody and my father were across the creek on the other side, and they watched me play.
Who's that, Woody?
Woody's a friend of Dad's.
Mm-hmm.
So I caught the trout, had him in, and Dad said, well, let's keep him. I want to keep him. We need something to eat for tonight. And I said, I don't want to keep him. I want to let him go. Put up a great fight, and I honor him by I want to let him go. And Dad said, I said, keep him, we need him. Dad wanted him to give him to Woody.
Oh,
And I was in college, so that means I knew everything. So I just rebelled against him and let the fish go right in front of him. And we didn't talk for a year after that.
a year.
A year.
That. Wow.
So then we were fine.
And then it all just smoothed out.
Yeah, we just went on.
So Bethany clarified a little bit. She was not wanting necessarily your favorite memory, but what's your first memory of fishing ever in your life? Do you have what's your earliest fishing memory?
Probably my dad taking me carp fishing.
It was for carp. He would
Mi-
take.
Yeah, we would go out to Middle River, and I don't know where it is now. I'm like, he knew somebody's farm, and we'd go out there. Nobody else fished it. It was full of carp, and we'd go out there, and I'd be 4 or 5, and he'd be fishing, and I'd be playing with tadpoles, and that's where I learned about fishing.
Yeah, Granddad was a real. He was a real meat fisherman, hunter.
It definitely.
Always
Old school
had a
all the way.
hunting cabin. Did you have a hunting cabin when you were a kid?
No.
That was something that came when I was a kid. Little Sycamore Bend.
Yeah.
Where was that exactly again? Was that Deerfield?
It was Deerfield. Take it Marble Valley Road, I think, across there.
That place was just so abundant with life. Just all the salamanders, all the crayfish, all the frogs. Just as a child, I just remember you just scoop your bucket in the water and you come out with all kinds of life, just bursting. Garden of Eden out there. I guess it's still the same.
Well, some things are the same, some aren't.
Right.
But, some of the birds we saw back then, we don't see anymore.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to hear a whippoorwill anymore.
Oh, really?
You're very lucky.
Uh-huh.
I haven't heard one in our part. I mean, I'm sure some parts of the county, well, not where we are.
Seems to be one interesting phenomenon going on with this quarantine all over the world. People are reporting this like palpable return of nature in certain ways. The skies are clearing up over cities that have been smogged. Dolphins are swimming in the canals in Italy. Again, there's coyotes roaming the streets in San Francisco. It's like nature is taking a sigh of relief or something for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Might be
Yeah, that whole thing is interesting.
It is.
I don't know. Yeah. Were we talking? I don't know if I was already talked about this the other night with you about what one of the things this could evolve into is Fridays off. Have we talked about that?
No.
We're going to cut down on in other words, Fridays, everything's off, just like it is now. Everybody shuts down and stays home or does what we've learned to do,
Uh-huh.
And that's that day of rest you're talking about, when the planet gets a chance to exhale and breathe in, and if you shut down all that energy, think of the energy that would be saved if everybody just shut down for a day.
Right.
So Friday, it's your non-work day, and everything's closed. There's no news, and
I like the sound of that.
then you go to then you have Saturday and Sunday, then you go back to work on Monday. Because with the technology and the robotics and the things that are going to happen in the next century, that's where we're going.
Into what?
Having to work less,
Right.
you know, there's going to be certain jobs that are always going to be necessary and mandatory, but you can have more people doing them, and then less time per person. So you can do that too.
Right.
But other jobs are just going to be eliminated.
I was I was reading an article yesterday where the one issue that they're having now is trying to figure out where to put all the oil, because they're still pumping it, but we're not using nearly as much of it, so they don't know where to keep it. If we're not burning it and sending it into the air, we don't have enough barrels.
Yeah, just think about that.
It's interesting.
That's what we're talking about. Give everybody a day off, including the planet, the rivers, and everything else.
Hey, Heather. Heather's
Becky.
in the chat. Good to see you. Got a question for Dad? Go ahead, Dad. Sorry. Did I cut you off there? What were you saying?
Excuse me? Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was not paying attention.
That's all right. I thought you were starting to
Loading-
say something.
I've got to load my pipe here. I'm sorry.
Okay, you load your pipe.
I'm back.
I'll tell you what we'll do. Hey, Yodi. Some good people. All right, well, we're going to cut away for just a second. We'll be right back with my dad. If you have any questions for Mr. Moore, we're at Hippie Fiasco's Mr. Moore's classroom, and we're having a life day here in Mr. Moore's classroom. So ask anything you want to ask in the chat, and I will relay it, and we will discuss. We'll be right back. Here's some awesome footage from good old Marinos back in the original day. Now, Marinos, before I cut away to this, maybe you can talk about Marinos for a second. As many people who watch this know, Marinos, for me, was, almost my whole life. They were having music there on Tuesday nights, and I spent a lot of time in there. I learned a lot from Marinos. I would say Marinos is right up there with one of the big shapers of my whole musical life. And in fact, I almost sort of have a career now going places and just sort of making a Marinos-like thing happen around me, from the People's Porch at High Sierra to the spot on Jam Cruise. All that is Marinos to a certain extent. But Marinos was a family-owned little restaurant, I guess you'd call it, a bar. I don't even know if any of those are the right words for it. But it was owned by the Marinos for 100 years, so it was here through all of my life and all of my dad's, and maybe would have been all of Nana's too. I don't know. But it did shut down a couple of years ago. We were all devastated as a community because it was such a meeting place, such a hub of our community. But it has now been bought by Victor, and Victor understands the history, respects it, loves it, wants to keep it alive, and it's going to reopen. But I guess my first question for you, Dad, about Marinos is, what was Marinos anything to you when you were young, when you were a child, or when did Marinos become an important place to you in your life?
Not at all when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
Not till I came back from college and started working here. But I think the first time that I had two ways of going there. One was after racquetball. That would be the bar of a friend of mine, and he would take me there. And then my friends were playing volleyball, which is a sport that my body was not built to play. So I never played much volleyball. But I would go on Monday nights and watch my buddies play. So I was like a groupie for the Monday nighters. And after they would play at the Y, I would slip down to Marinos. So I became a regular Monday nighter. And then I started meeting Benny Ergenbright in there, and the rest is history.
And they would he play harmonica in there on Tuesday nights? I can't even remember that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would play some, not a whole lot. He would play some special songs or some. Yeah, he didn't go in and regularly play.
Right. Well, we'll be right back with you live here with my dad on Hippie Fiasco Rides Again, special edition, Mr. Moore's Classroom. It's a life day. If you have a question for Dad, just post it in the chat, and we will discuss whatever you would like to discuss. And we'll be right back. Here we're going to go now to a video I made compiling some footage from some Tuesday night pics back in Marinos in the day. And the song is by Dwayne Knowles. It's one of the things that's killing me about this quarantine is that after all these years, we had just been meeting on Tuesdays here in Nathan's Land to record the new Dwayne Knowles record that we were all just really having a blast doing before we went into quarantine. And Dwayne Knowles is sort of isn't even appropriate. He's a local legend, and he's one of the figureheads of the pick that happened every Tuesday at Marinos, and he's a Stanton Knight through and through. If you ever visit Dwayne Knowles and he takes you into his garage, it's like a Stanton museum in there. You would not believe all the things he's collected from yard sales and stuff of Stanton paraphernalia, old pictures, and it's just unbelievable. But here's the song on this is an old Dwayne Knowles classic that I recorded, probably 15 years ago now. I'm not even sure. But it's a great song, a tender piece called "The More You Cry, the Less You Pee."
Well, I loved a girl from Tennessee, and lo, she thought the world of me. She said that the love, it would be true, and she said I'd expect the same thing out of you. Me out one Saturday night, holding a beautiful young thing too tight. But I cried and I plead, but this is what she said to me. She said, the more you cry, the less you pee. It's sad but true. Look said I know. A tear in my eye, he said see. But this is what he said to me. Said the more you cry, the less you bleed. It's sad but true, but look at me. They said what will be. But the more you cry, the less you bleed. Well, I went to see the preacher man. He said, you know he'll understand. He opened up the book and read to me Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 2 and 3. It said, the more thou criest, the less thy peace. It's sadly true, look at me. Let's say what will be. But the more you cry, the less you bleed. Yes, the more you cry, the less you bleed. Kids, don't try this at home.
I cut away from that too soon. That's like a Marvel superhero movie. There was footage after the credits. I left during the credits and missed the whole trailer for what's coming. Oh, what was that going to be? It looked like there's a little bit more there. But Marino's Lunch, that because restaurant didn't work and bar doesn't necessarily work. It's an interesting thing Marino's is. I've never really seen a place like it in my life, and there'll probably never be another one. I can't wait to see what the resurrection of Marino's is going to look and feel like. It'll be a whole new thing, and hopefully 100 years from now, it'll still be there. All right, well, we're back live, Dad. Thanks for doing this. We're just this is our first show together, hopefully the first of many. I'm liking this theme of Life Days. We didn't really have a plan coming on or know what we were going to do, but remembering that Dad was a school teacher, taught high school chemistry for many years, and is very beloved in our community. A bit of a legend, if I do say so myself. I think so. I know what it was like growing up being either Mr. Moore's son or Coach Moore's son, and gosh, that was such a thing. That was such a thing. That I think that had a big impact on me. I don't know how many that's what I was for a long time out in the world in a lot of different ways. Mom was very involved in the community too, but seeing all those young athletes and stuff like that, be like, oh, you're Coach Moore's son, like You just impacted so many people, and then being a child of having that, of seeing how you could see how people felt about you when even at a young age, I intuitively could feel in their reaction that they were like, "Oh, it's cool. That's Coach Moore's kid right there." You know, there was something, I don't know. There's something I was always gleaming from that. Heather says, "Well, go ahead, please."
Well, I guess that's an interesting. I've never really thought about it like that. That is an interesting thing to see. I never really saw that from my end of the periscope. But
I never really thought about it or talked about it either, but it is interesting side of it.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that idea.
But it's not hard to imagine how that would feel.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
is intriguing to me to be that I want to be that loved by so many random people. Or something. There's
Yeah.
something there. There's something psychologically there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there could be. I think it's fascinating. You know, like I wouldn't win any Father of the Year awards or anything, but I think one thing I saw was that, and I learned this from Little League all the way through. So I ran the Little League program when you were about 2 or 3. I ran the Little League program. I was before Ken Bosserman, if you can imagine.
It's probably why I love peanuts so much.
Yeah, we sold some peanuts.
Yeah. There are always bags of peanuts around.
But
yeah, and granddad too. He was a Kiwanis coach. But you're just talking about I guess the running the Kiwanis or the Little League.
Well, what I was getting at, thank you for bringing me back around, is the idea that I saw parents trying to control their kids and trying to live their lives through their children, and didn't like that. I didn't think you ought to do that, and so I tried not to do that with the 3 of you. My son said, in other words, you find what you want to do, and then when you look at what the results are, you have 3 completely different people with completely different skill levels at different things, and a lot of things overlap, but a lot of things don't. But everybody's flown when they were thrown out of the nest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want. That's the thing I don't think a lot of parents see as a goal. Really, what you want is for them to be good without you.
Right. And one of the ways to do that is to demonstrate and to fly with how you live your life. And I definitely feel like that's what I was seeing when I was a kid watching you, as I was watching you fly. I mean, big time. In so many different ways. As a teacher, as a coach, as an athlete, as a friend, as an intellectual, as even as a cook there for a little while. You went in with a passion, whatever you were doing at the time.
At the time, yes.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Those are some nice words.
Oh, it's very, very true.
Very
okay,
honored.
we have some questions rolling in.
All right.
Heather says, "How do you tell the difference between a male and female goose?"
Goose?
Yep, she says she's been hanging with some recently. How do you tell the difference between a male and a female goose?
Tell her I have really No idea about the biology. I would assume the male would have a larger snout, like that little honker thing, would be maybe a little enlarged. I
But
don't know
you'd
about,
need two to compare, I guess. If you were just talking to
but
one, that wouldn't
I think
necessarily.
a lot of it, if you do geese was your thing, you would know by their behavior. The males are much more territorial and obnoxious, and they defend their, whatever they defend, and they're more aggressive. So, but that doesn't mean it's not a badass female too.
Right, you
So,
never still might not know.
no. So I know I don't know any
There's
way you just
no
go
way
with
to
it.
tell, Heather. That's the answer. There's absolutely no way to tell.
I have no. The answer is I don't know.
No, we've done some research. There's no way to tell. Jim Lewis says, enjoying this once caught a big plump bluegill, went to clean it and found it full of eggs. Any way to tell if a fish is pregnant? Wish I would have thrown her back. Wonder how the eggs would have tasted. Love Nathan's song that goes, there's something about reeling 'em in. What song is that? All right, I can answer that last part. That was early in the morning. Oh man. I've used a lot of fishing imagery in my songs thanks to you. That was mostly vicarious. I did go fishing with Dad a lot as a kid because he would take me fishing, but I never really took myself fishing after childhood. But that there's still I think that might be coming in my life maybe we'll see. Dad's given me one of his 3 fishing poles, so that could be really good. But I'll be out there fishing for songs no matter what I say. But I definitely have a deep love for fishing because of my dad and my granddad and everything, and so I've always feel okay with using fishing imagery in the songs. I'm procrastinating now, so I'm trying to remember the name of the song that you're thinking of. It was on Single Wide. If I could learn to juggle, could I learn to paint? Okay, I'll think. I'll get. If I can't remember, I can find the answer really easily. But in the meantime, Dad, is there a way to tell? I guess it's a 2-part question. The fish that he caught was a bluegill, and I guess the question is twofold. One is there a way to tell if a fish is pregnant before you cut into it? And 2, do all fish produce good tasting caviar, or is that only specific fish where if you find the eggs, that's called caviar?
Well, caviar was reserved for Russian sturgeon roe or eggs, but then it can be more generalized to other forms in different cultures. I would hesitate to generalize that all fish eggs are good to eat or would be good, but
Are there any
most
are there any local fish where eating the eggs is a common practice or used to be or anything?
well, I think whenever you cut open a trout or a big bass, and they're full of eggs, they would be in a nice handful, and you could roll them in flour and fry them up, and they were definitely an edible thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
household that was hungry, you'd eat those for sure.
But not like
Right.
there's
I wouldn't say it was a delicacy or anything.
right. No, there's no Appalachian caviar. Like, oh, my grandma used to.
No, I don't think so. Maybe.
All right. How about the
Yeah.
first part of the question? Is there a way to tell the fish is pregnant before you kill it?
Yeah, it'd be spawning season.
Uh-huh.
They'd be on a bed, or if it's a sunfish or something like that, they have, in other words, you can pretty much tell. And of course, the big thing is they have an extended belly, and you throw them back.
So that would just come from experience, though. There's no like real sure sign, but after you catch a bunch of them, you start to realize the timing of when they tend to be pregnant and sort of how it looks when they are.
Right.
If he just caught like the fish he caught was a plump bluegill. I'm not sure where you catch a bluegill, but I imagine just to the average person throwing some bait out and reeling in a fish, it would be hard to tell that they are pregnant unless you've caught a bunch in the past and can tell the.
Right. No, yeah, that's true. You might have just eaten a big meal.
Heather says Marino's was the last great beer dive. Maybe not the last, but it's definitely right, the last one. Time-wise. Of all your years at Stanton High, is there one victory or tragedy, relationship, etc., that you would say impacted your life the most? That's from Eric Bang.
I would say there were several things that happened. Yeah.
What would be a victory that, if just free association, what was a great victory in your time at teaching high school?
I don't have one.
Mike Bullock would like to know, what's the secret to a good White Russian? Good question.
I'd say the first one, and would have a little bit more Kahlua than normal. And the second through the fifth one would have progressively more vodka than the other one.
Ah, the progressive recipe.
And that always worked for me, Michael.
I was reading the chat at the beginning there. What do you use? Cream, half and half, milk?
I didn't use cream. I used milk.
Just straight up whole milk.
Well, a lot of times I only had 2%. I usually got 2%.
Right.
Sometimes I'd get a little container of the whole milk.
Did the brand of vodka even matter?
I'm sure it does to certain people with certain tastes. Fortunately, in my genetic makeup, my taste buds are not as good as a lot of other people's, and so I don't taste the difference.
Right.
Now, the other aspect of it is that basically, according to the chemistry of vodka, that it seems like the purer the vodka, the less it would have any taste at all.
Ah.
So how can you taste test something that's only great if it doesn't taste at all?
Oh, this is really good. I can't taste it at all. This is the best money can buy.
What are you talking about?
I was just talking about the irony of that the best money could buy is the one you'd notice or taste the least.
Yeah. Weird.
Oh, you're right. It is. The song is called "Don't Need Water." Ding, ding, ding. We remembered. Zach, I want all them pictures. Those are awesome. Hello. P. Dean, Dana, Mike. Okay, here's a question for you. Did you or the boys find Judgment Seat on your own, or did somebody take you there? How did that special spot come into the Moore's life? Do you
I'm
hear?
sure we were all, you asked,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I said, I'm sure we were all escorted up there by the Jordan family.
Oh, right.
That's who lived over there. And they, yeah, you just had to go, go behind their house. The main trail is right behind their house. It's not theirs now, but back then. So we would go up there with them. We were guests until we got to the point where we would just go whenever we wanted. But that's when we first went up there.
It is a magic spot.
It is a power spot for sure.
Angie asks, do you have dreams about your teaching days?
Not too often. I used to have more anxiety dreams where I'd be trying to find my classroom or be lecturing and I'd look down and I didn't have my pants on and I had those for a long time, but I don't have those anymore.
It's so funny that everybody has the performance anxiety nightmare. I was sitting at a table with all musicians once, and I asked them all if any of them had ever actually put on a really great show in their dreams. And without fail, every single one of them was like, no. If I have a dream and it involves performing or it's a show, it's everything's going wrong. It's always a performance anxiety nightmare kind of thing where you can't find the stage, you can't remember the words to your songs, all your cables are all wrapped up. It's sort of funny that you would say that same with teaching. Like it's probably true for whatever people do.
Yeah, right. But here's an argument to what you just said. That's not necessarily what's going on there.
In terms of the dream,
Oh, I'm sorry. I was meditating. I lost you.
I was wondering if you were thinking.
I was thinking. I lost my train of thought and I didn't know how to get out of it.
No, I understand.
All right. But I don't know where I was.
Well, we were talking about dreams and how it's like hard to dream that you're performing your task really well. Usually if you dream about
All right.
what you do, it's all going wrong.
I got my thought came back.
Okay.
And the thought is that what's really happening is that what you remember of your dreams is what you wake up to.
Oh, what you wake up to. I'm so glad you remembered your thought. That's huge.
Yeah,
Interesting.
when you have an anxiety dream, like here's the thing I'd learned to do years ago. This has saved me a lot of anxiety. When I lose my wallet in a dream, I immediately wake up. I jump start because that's the first stage of a dream turning from good to bad. If I can't, the moment I can't, because of the moment I lose my wallet, that's when I start running around looking where I was, and I'm in trouble. So what I've learned, I have overridden some circuits in my brain, and when in my dreams, if I lose my wallet, I wake up.
You're sending yourself a message to wake up in a way.
If that's like a cue to wake up.
Right.
So it's avoided so many anxiety dreams. So my point was about the person who remembers these negative things is that's what they wake up to. So that's why they remember.
And that's what they remember.
But if you're having a good dream, no, it's a good dream. You don't wake up.
Right. Oh, I love that so much. I'm so glad that we got back to that. That's great.
It came way out and then came back around.
Heather says her dad's anxiety dream is he can't find his saxophone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, this has been fun. I think we should do it again. I think we're finding the framework for this particular show. Anyways, I like the Life Days, Mr. Moore's Classroom, on Hippie Fiasco Rides Again. I think eventually I'll do better at prodding questions from the chat, because I think a lot of today was people that are just happy to see you, and people happy to see each other in the chat, and everybody giving each other some love, and then people asking you, and which these are questions are, of course, are not off limits on any level, but like trying to get into personal recollections and stories and stuff like that. But I think the ultimately the questions could be of any nature, and I don't know anybody that's read more books than my dad has. And I'm not saying that he has perfect recall or anything, but at the same time, he'd probably have some unique way some informed way of getting out of any kind of question on any topic imaginable. And
Well, it's the one you hesitated to use tonight, and the answer to most every question is, I really don't know.
right. Exactly.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to head upstairs.
Well, let's do one final question. We have one final question here from the chat. And Dad, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
That was fun.
It's been fun to hang out with you.
Nice to hang out with you.
But before we go back to the reality at hand, and the idea of checking in on you in quarantine, Mike Bullock asks, what are your thoughts on how this whole virus plays out?
Well, Mike, I refuse not to be a little positive that we are going to learn from it and make adjustments, and it's going to change our view of ourselves in the world and part of the world, and bring the world closer together. And that can happen on a lot of different levels. And the technology that we're using tonight will be a big part of that. But it can happen. It really is showing us that you don't have to get it very far out in space to see that we're just a small little dot in the sky. And we better figure that out quickly, and this might help us do that. So that would be a good way to look at it for a while.
Yeah, well said. Love you, Dad.
Love you. Have a good night.
You too. Talk to you
Hey,
soon.
thanks for checking in, everybody. I'm still alive, although the meter's running out and the battery's dying down. But we'll charge her up by morning. Love you guys. Bye bye.
Yeah. How about that? Thank you, Dad, for doing that. And really, like, next time we do it, fire away. Just any kind of question you can imagine. It could be like a Dear Abby relationship question, or a science question, or a sports question. I mean, we're talking about all categories on the Trivial Pursuit board. He will field the question in some way or another that will be good. I think the right questions will will be rolling in. That I mean, we covered some good ground tonight for sure, but we're just finding we came on having no idea what was going to happen, but halfway through I'm like, I like this Life Days with Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore's Classroom here on Hippie Fiasco Rides Again. I guess we need a leaving song, huh? What'd you think, Pip? Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thanks for being here. Keep up the good work out there. We do have this. We got this. Questions. I'm going to start writing down some questions for next time he does it. Life Days. Hippie Fiasco Life Days. Radio's cranked by the river in my car. I'm sitting here thinking about you. And the night I wished on that falling star, and the day that wish came true. Now I'm sitting on the porch and the fireflies lighting up the trees, and I'm ferried off to a world, another world where I'm about to get married. Cool world, you ain't so tough. To a fool for true love. On top of the spring house, I still remember your touch. First time you told me you love me, baby, I love you so much. Some folks worried about what they have, some about what they have now. My baby and me just have to laugh, that's why we're tying the knot. Cruel world, you ain't so tough. To a fool for to a fool for true love. Cruel world, you ain't so tough. To a fool for true love. Thanks for watching. Let's try to get them to do that again real soon. See y'all soon out there. Bye.